Hey, Goldfinger, Caesar, how you guys doing? Good to see you. Figured lots of time for a little irresponsible watch talk. So what's new? What do you guys want to talk about today? Thanks, Brian. Hey, Brian, did you hear back from him again? Um, that sounds promising. They're probably waiting to see if they get any better deals. We'll be quiet in the meantime. Hi, Em. How you doing? Well, what's a good topic for today? We can talk about anything we want. Hi, Damon. Yeah, me too. Yeah, Damon, I did. Oh, yeah, I tell you, I don't know. I've got to sort of lighten my collection, and I'm just I'm just gonna lighten it with watches that I never wear or rarely wear. Hey, Von Cruel. Hi, Rick on watches. How you doing? Oh yeah, yeah, I know. I in January, I think it was January or February, one of my FP Journs went up and did quite well. Hi, Jose. How you doing? So, what would be the most? Oh, I know one thing we talked about. On my last video, I had a thing on a Christopher Ward C12 Loco, and one thing that I kept bothering me was that while the double barrels looked like they were connected in parallel, somebody contacted Christopher Ward and they weren't. That doesn't surprise me. The reason it doesn't surprise me is uh, the reserve on it. It had something like 6-day reserve on two barrels in that size. Probably not. So they finally Christopher Ward said no, they're in series. So anyway, there's some news for you. Von Cruel, let's see. Today you wear a guilty pleasure watch, a Copage of the IWC Engineer. Surprisingly well done. Chinese clone with an ETA 2824. Oh, I tell you, I got so tired of IWC sort of not exactly being forthcoming about the origin of their movements that they could have a hamster on a running wheel for all I care. Wouldn't believe them. Yeah, the tariff thing is really very perplexing. I just yesterday I got a strap from Larique because some watches that are coming to the U.S. I've been getting the straps ahead of time because I have the license for odd animals or whatever they have it for. So, but I haven't checked my. Didn't hear anything about a tariff. It wasn't for a repair. It was simply straight up strap. I think there's a certain amount that under that certain amount they don't worry about the tariff, but it's got to be over a certain amount, I think. And usually what we have is over that amount. I think it's somewhere around 800, something like that. I've seen some of the sites like eBay and Chrono24, and they show what the amount would be once it goes through customs and everything. So I know some of them have it, but it doesn't seem that all of them have it. Some do, some don't. Yeah, we're still up in the air about that. I think, I was looking up some information on tariffs, and apparently, didn't realize this. The Biden administration had tariffs on China. There were certain ones that are very targeted ones, and they're just sort of basically, you tariff us, we'll tariff you. They weren't, they weren't huge ones. There's crazy ones that have been doing. Um, I don't like politics to begin with. What passes as politics right now is even worse. But anyway, enough of that. Hi Tim, how you doing? Ron Cruel. I'm going to put out SW200 and this watch. You like it so much. Okay, now is the SW200-1, is that a hand wound one, Van Cruel? There you go, Brian. Saved by the barrels, huh? Well, they aren't in parallel. You'll be happy to know. You don't want to have to snap out of it. Yeah, the whole tariff thing. There's tariffs or VATs or all of these nutty things, and they've always been with us. You know, it's almost better to have one that is stable at, even if it's a little higher than you want. At least you know what you're in for. For example, the Swiss have 8.1%. Last year, I think it was 7.7. And so when we get a watch from them, but what they do is that when they export it outside of Switzerland, there's no nothing on it. It was back in I think it was actually December 2024, maybe it was December 2023, that Switzerland got rid of all tariffs, which is, to me, probably not a bad idea, given the value of the Swiss franc. It probably was. Of course, they got a different economy and a whole different lot of other things, but we'll see. Yeah, Damon, they're. I tell you, I was looking at the history of it. They are all over the map, and they're only with certain countries with certain kinds of goods. Um, one of the things, if some countries, they don't have tariffs, but what they'll have is they'll have government subsidies. And so let's say I'm making widgets in Slobovia, and the government helps me so that I can lower the price and sell them to Transylvania at a lower price than Transylvania has. So that way, I mean, then Transylvania finds out about it, and then they can slap a tariff on it, and so they try to even it out. Generally, it doesn't work, but that's okay. They do it anyway. They like to talk tough. I'm going to get you with my tariff. There we go. Okay. Thanks, Von Cruel. What is your favorite watch with achengraph movement? Ooh, Caesar, that's a good question. There are three of them. There's the Singer, the Fabergé, and the H. Moser. I think the thing I like so much about the H. Moser is they took out the hour hand. I mean, like, come on. you know, you're doing precise timing. You need an hour hand. I can see the minute hand, but not the hour hand. Hey, Mark, how you doing, man? Yeah, Von Krul, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Cuckoo bananas. That is such a good description. The purchases from Hong Kong, I can't find a definitive answer. Some say it's 10%, others say it could be more. No one will commit. Well, you know who could commit would be the Chrono 24. They had to tell us. I mean, our eBay, because they have to set up the exchange on that. Yeah, there. I think what they did, they decided. I mean, the whole thing is done with such unbelievable incompetence. Just, it's more for a drama to show that, see, I'm tough on tariffs, or I'm tough on this, or I'm going to do this. And so it's done not with any kind of finesse, but rather with sort of these sweeping things and sending in idiots to do it. We're sort of ending up with all kinds of problems that they can't get stuff done now. I just shudder at the whole thing. Um, this isn't political. It's if it were the Democrats or Republicans or the whomever, it's stupid, and it's for show and for publicity and not for really getting anything done except causing havoc. So, and that's not political. That's simply having to do with any responsible governing. Enough of that. I don't want to talk about politics. I can't stand them. Even the ones I vote for, I can't stand. So that's enough of that. Okay. Hi, Elijah. What are your thoughts on Maurice Grossman? What surprised that the DeFore Tuftnut managed to catch 70,000 in a recent auction? I'm not surprised, Elijah. I have a Maurice Grossman that I got. I got before anybody else was out of bed, apparently, and it is perfect. It's a great watch. Unfortunately, the only thing about the one I got is a little hard to tell time because they used all of the different hands from that they make. I'm trying to work out a deal on a group buy with Christine Hutter on trying to get one, and we'll see if that works out. She told me, she said, well, in about 2 years. Now, that was about 2 years ago. So I think I'll see her again in November, and I'll remind her, say, hey, we're ready to go whenever you are. And that would be great, at a price that I think is more affordable. Her watches Maurice Grossman watches are very, very expensive. I mean, that's what I wish they had an entry level, and when I'm talking entry level, I'm not talking about, 5,000 or 4,000. I'm talking about 20,000, because I mean, I don't know if any of their watches begin at that. The other interesting thing I noticed about Maurice Grossman, none of the watches come with metal bracelets. I I I have one with a metal bracelet because I got a Ming bracelet and was looking for a watch to put it on, and so I decided to put it on my Ming. But yeah, Maurice Grossman are. I would rather have a Maurice Grossman probably than an Allanga. Um, they are fantastic watches. I That sounded like an advertisement, Elijah, but that's my opinion. Yeah, Brian, I think you're right. They don't see what they do, though. I don't know how they do it. Apparently, they send the bill not to the recipient, us. They send it to those who are coming in. Um, And so now the way that most companies deal with that is that they got to pay the tariff, and so they're going to just pass it on to the price of the watch. Hey, Foreman, not the one on 29th Street. Yeah, the winter storage special. You can cozy up with all the muskrat and squirrel furs. Oh, that groan. Yeah, that's a good question, Von Crew. What do you think about that? I think it's cool that the Groinfeld brothers decided to do that, but you know, it was like I saw that as the same way that they did with Jaime Ahsoka's. It wasn't really a Groenfeld watch because it didn't have a Groenfeld movement. It has I don't know what they did for the movement, and I'm not sure that the Groenfelds. I mean, they're not noted for their dial work. I don't know. I think it's sort of cool in a way, but you know, not quite. It reminds me of those when Ford had those Jaguars, Ford owned Jaguar, and so they put some other model engine and chassis and everything, and then slapped on something that sort of looked like a Jaguar, but it wasn't a Jaguar, and they didn't have a Jaguar engine in it. Yeah, yeah, Foreman. Somehow. Oh, you like it, Rick? Okay, that's cool. I seen it. I just didn't. What Rick? What kind of movement does the Groen have? Okay, okay. I haven't seen the oil pump, Corbin. Hey, Trap Vision. You know something, Rick? I'll bet you anything that Groen is going to keep its price if it's not increase in price. What was it? What was the model that Ford basically they put that something that looked somewhat like a Jaguar, and then they put it on. I don't know what the chassis was, but it was this, one of the ones that they weren't making investments. I think Ford has been making some really great cars now, so that's good to see. Oh, okay, what else is going on in the wacky watch world? Um, you know, no, I don't think it was that. It was another one. I wouldn't have minded a Mustang, but it was another one, Brian. I'm trying. If you said the name of it, I'd know it, but it wasn't a Mustang. I don't think. Um, no more cheap Seiko moving. I got a question. How do you sell these really cheap watches? I have no idea. Um, I'm trying to get rid of all of my humble Sunday watches, so to speak, with a couple exceptions. I don't think I'd ever want to sell my $200 uh, regulator, though. What is... Okay. Okay. Rick, thank you. That's the... Yeah, okay. Mad 2 is a wonderfully fun watch. Rick, when did you start getting fun watches instead of incredible ones? Yeah, I got my Seiko 5. That's not going anywhere either. So now they're putting in the through DHL. DHL was doing some crazy stuff when they delivered ours. Good question. It sounds like if it was new, it's probably shipped from Europe, wasn't it? Yeah, um, I had a Ford Falcon too, Corbin. My dad had got it for my sister, and she was out in Arizona, so he put this big air conditioner in it, and it just ate it alive. Oh, okay, that's good to know, Rick. It doesn't matter where it's shipped from; it's the place of manufacture. So that's pretty good news. So even if there is a squabble with China, if we got a Swiss watch from China, so then, hmm. Yeah, I'm not much into quartz watches either at all. I have some old ones, but I've got a Mickey Mouse quartz watch. It's sort of fun. Huh, that's interesting but I wonder how they do that. I mean, in other words, if somebody bought an RGB, oh wait, what is it? Roland Murphy, RGM, is that it? Something like that. Anyway, one of Roland Murphy's one that had somehow ended up in Europe, and then they shipped it back here, and it was the origin was the U.S., then they wouldn't be charged. Yeah, from Geneva. But they still hit you for 10% on that. I guess they gave 10% tariff to the world. What a ah RGM, that's it, yeah. Um, I don't know. It's just screwy. So what else is going on? Let's quit talking about tariffs. That's depressing. Um, what Oh, I know something. I may have mentioned this before. I was really surprised. There was a I got this is the 100th anniversary of the New Yorker, and so they had this one that came out just this week with their 100th anniversary, and they had these double covers. They had a cover of one thing, and you open up, and there's another cover, and on the inside covers, all of them were Rolexes. They were advertising Rolexes. That's it. It seems that Rolex gets advertised or Omega. I saw an ad for Christopher Ward some time ago. I only saw one, and it was a smaller ad, but still, way to go, Christopher Ward. Joma was applying that extra 10% to me, and I had to choose that I'd handle the duties and taxes myself. Don't pay in advance. Ah, aha, good to know. Good to know. Okay, okay. Hey Jeff, how you doing? I just got to use Christopher Ward bronze watch. My first bronze watch, and love it. Feels and looks warm, like a poor man's gold. You know, I'll tell you, I still would be easily tempted into getting one of the Christopher Ward Morgan watches. I don't think they have them anymore, but maybe I can find one somewhere. Yeah, no, that would be a cool one. A bronze watch. That's. I don't think I have a bronze watch. I don't think I had one that I made and then I gave it to someone. Hi, Stephen. Timex has its hundredth anniversary limited edition with the New Yorker. Oh, cool! It's a Marlin 34 millimeter manual wine and has a landscape of the building. How cool, Stephen! Thanks. I I should look in my New Yorker. Maybe it's advertised in there. So that would be a cool watch. I mean, there's but 34 millimeters is small for me. Um, I can go down to 36 millimeters if it's really a special watch, like my Vacheron Constantin Mercator. But otherwise, it's sort of like I like 39, 40, 41 right in there. Oh, let me ask you. Okay, got to watch it Bezel, but they don't ship it abroad. I didn't know that. I get these things from Bezel all the time. They had this one watch that this guy that I thought, well, I'll try to put in a low ball and see what happens. And it wasn't a low ball. The interesting thing that Bezel does, if you bid on one of the watches that they have, you can't go below the 30% of the asking price. And so if somebody asks 10,000, you got to come up with at least what 7,000, something like that. Anyway, so they had I'd miss it by this much, just a little, and so I upped it so it was 30%. And the guy selling it wouldn't even respond. So he's had the thing for like a couple of years for sale at Bezel and couldn't sell it. And unless he gets just what he wants, he's not going to sell it. So okay. Yeah, Bezel. I like Bezel. Bezel has when they have their auction, the it's I think the seller has to pay the bulk of it rather than having these high premiums. I mean, a 25% premium, I chihuahua for the buyer. Yeah, they don't have a buyer premium. I don't think, or a very small one. June has Meister Driver is a watch that's coming that has the look of an odometer in a real old car. I had some real old cars. To put the real old car I have, my first real old car was a '55 Volkswagen. Uh, and coming from Junhaus, maybe it's the Volkswagen. Yeah, um, what's the company? I think it's the one. I keep calling it Black and Decker. It's not that. Um, it has that double name that and Chanel bought them, and they have all of these instrument things. They look like instrument panels. Bell and Ross, thanks, Jeff. Um, they have all of these instrument panel type watches, and I've been tempted. I really have. Hey, you know something? If you want to get an interesting watch, you can get these old, um, like they're from World War II instrument from. I guess they cannibalize the instrument panels and the rest of the airplane, and they have all of these clocks because most of the airplanes at that time that they had clocks, they were hand wound. And what you're supposed to do is before you take off, you wind them up. And a lot of them were Jaeger-LeCoultre movements. So I thought that was sort of cool. That might be something that'd be sort of fun to see if you could find. Oh, shop worn Forbin. Yeah, they exist, but they exist under another name. They're called Solist, Solist. If you Google up shop worn, it'll get there for you. The thing about it, they don't have the deals that they used to have. It's not their fault. It's just there's the place now that I find the best deals is called the Watch Outlet. I mean, that place is a real gem site. Plus the fact that they'll even negotiate. So if you're looking for some good deals, no, they don't always have watches that are wildly popular. By the way, I've had a watch I've always wanted, that I may be able to get. I have a Parmigiani. It's called a Parmigiani Tonda Hemisphere. Love that watch. Just a great watch. I sent it in for service, not because anything is wrong with it. It's a little slow or a little fast. I forgot which, but still in great shape. But I sent it in for service anyway. I figured, well, I better get it serviced for it. And what my plan is once it comes back from service, is that I'm going to see if I can find. They're called Parmigiani Fleurier toric. They're called the toric hemisphere, not the Tonda hemisphere. And the toric hemisphere is one I'd really like to get. I found one that I can't afford right now, so I couldn't get it. But I wouldn't want to have two hemispheres by Parmigiani. So the one I want was the one that won the travel prize in 2017 from the Grand Prix de Geneva. By the way, you can find just for having a fun watch that won a prize. You can go through. They're about, I guess, 20 years old, and when I say 20 years old, the Grand Prix d'Horloge started in 2001. And so you can go back and find watches that were Grand Prix winners that are pretty good buys. That's one of them. Unfortunately, I think the people selling them realize they're pretty good watches. Bezel does shill bidding. Have to be careful. Apparently, it's just to the reserve price, but you never know. Okay. What do you mean by bidding? Shop worn is not soulless? Hang on a second. Are you sure about that? Let me double check. Okay, shop worn. Yeah, it is. Hang on. Check this out. Okay, called the Solist. That if you put in shop worn, this is what you'll get from back from it, Jeff. Check it out. Okay. All right, Joe. No, I haven't. You know, I this may sound funny. I I haven't been, and I haven't really wanted to go to Watches and Wonders. I I know it sounds funny. Oh boy, you see all the new stuff. Um, I've been to the Grand Prix last year. Now that I'm on the academy, I'm supposed to, pay more attention to those things. I do. Um, but for some reason, I've never had an urge to go to the Watches and Wonders. I know that sounds funny, but I don't know why. I really enjoy going to the Watch Time show in New York, to the Friday night, at least to the Friday night one, because it's more for seeing people and talking to people than it is looking at watches. I do get around to looking at the watches, but you know, I just there's there'd have to be something really amazing to make it worthwhile to go. Now, a lot of people love it. They go to they go to Watches and Wonders and come back and just they really like it. I Not something that would be my cup of tea, probably. Um, I know that sounds sort of lame. I tell you something I did last year that wasn't quite like that, but somewhat. Um, Jean-Marc Viderec, the, he decided to be a tour guide, and he took me and my wife all over the uh, Geneva, these different places we walked. And then they went to where they used to have the Grand Prix, and they stopped it for having this big hall for some reason. But what they were using it for was that they were showing all of the watches that had been nominated. And so we walked through this and saw all of these nominated watches. And I tell you, the fun thing about it was going with Jean-Marc Viderec. I swear we couldn't move two watches without somebody coming up. Oh, it's Jean-Marc Viderec, and they wanted to meet him and talk to him. He'd done something wonderful for them. Tremendous guy. Really a great guy. Okay, so much. Sorry about that. Off I went, but yeah, Watches and Wonders. Maybe I ought to go someday. I don't know. Oh, bidding is a robot bids against you until the reserve is met. I didn't know about that. That's a really good thing to know. Well, that makes sense, though. I mean, why bid is what's your favorite watch event in New York area? Oh, I'll tell you what it is, Jeff. It's Watches and Wonders. That'd be great if you could make it. It's in October in New York City, and they hold it in Gotham Hall. And Gotham Hall, I swear to God, there's not a taxi driver in New York who knows where it is. And so you just tell them to go up to 39th and Broadway and let you out, then turn left and walk over there to it. I don't know why Gotham Hall. I mean, you'd think that everybody would know in New York, and these are taxi drivers. I think you do better with an Uber driver and just put it into their GPS. But that's a really good one. And the one, Jeff, the one to go to is the one on Friday night. They have sort of a dinner, but they have an open bar, and it's just a lot of fun. It's more expensive, but you also get a 3-day pass to the watch time show too. They have on Saturday. They have a lot of these seminars with some really sharp, I mean, top watchmakers like uh, oh, I'm trying to think his name. Romain Gauthier, Carivut, and Lannon, you name it. They have these really, really nice little sort of to the side seminars. And even those are hard to get into, but they're a lot of fun. Oh, wow. Yeah, Armin Strom is somebody who would really like. Well, look who's here. Horology by the Sea. Great to see you there. Moser is developing a new mineral with the Alpine Group, or a new material. Boy, I don't know what that would be. Hey, Stuart, how you doing? What do you think of Swiss-made controversy? What 60% of the watch has to be made in Switzerland for to in order to have the in order to be called Swiss made. I don't, to me that the watches we had, we wanted to have them Swiss made, but some people were very worried that we got any little thing out of Switzerland, it would be not considered Swiss made. On our current watch, we may have uh, this French handmaker do the hands for us, but the rest are all Swiss. To me, I'm not that concerned about it, but I think it's something. I think that a lot of people is important to them. Um, sort of like the Geneva seal. The Geneva seal is nice. That's one of the reasons I like to have the Roger Dubuis watches. They tend to almost all of them have the Geneva seal. I don't know. I was, yeah, I was in. God, when was it? In March, I was in Basel. There was nothing happened there. I went from Basel to the Black Forest. So touring around Geneva sounds great. Do you follow the Watches TV guy named Mark Andrews? Oh, he has a shop. No, he's my favorite though. I tell you, his stuff is so great, and he speaks French so well. I'm impressed. He knows how to pronounce everything. No, his stuff is fantastic. I have a hard time understanding him, but that's my hearing, not him. Um, yeah, no, where we went to what's called the Old Geneva. That's the only part interesting. I got to tell you, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way. Geneva is not a real tourist town. Okay, they're very, it's very industrial, and the most interesting places are actually inside these heavy industrial areas. When I went to Agenor, you go in and there's this big industrial area all around it, and the cab driver he wasn't sure whether he had the right place for us. We told him because it looked like these factories, and finally there's this little gem of a building right in the middle of all of this. But then just sort of a stone's throw away is F.P. Jorn's. Uh, he has these double companies. One makes the dials for him, and one makes the cases. For our next watch, they're making our dial for us. It's called, oh boy, it's called Geneva something Cadriens. Forget whatever French is for watch dials. But yeah, it's sort of like a town. I don't think. I mean, in fact, before I went there, Matu Allegri sent me a list of towns to go visit that were interesting. It was sort of funny. Okay, Jose, WW is okay. I think there are other satellite. There's one. Here's one I would really, really, really like to go to. There's an event, and hang on a second. It's advertised in Europa Star. They usually. I guess it's in the newer one. They have this a trade show for these companies that make all of the different parts for, everything from buckles to you name it. Um, Hey, here's something interesting. In Dusseldorf, whoa, this is interesting. October 27th to 29th in Dusseldorf, Germany in 2023. Oh, in 2023. Sorry, that's an old one. But they do have watch time shows. I know they had them in California. I didn't know where else they had them. I'd have to dig up. But there's a show in Switzerland, and all of the people that we work with always go to those shows because they want to see what the parts are, what kind of deals they can make, and everything. Oh, great, Jeff. Listen, Jeff, usually there are a bunch of guys with Larique who always meet, have a sort of a special meeting to just so we could see who you've been dealing with. But that'd be great. You could meet with us too. Doesn't Batman live in Gotham Hall? Yes. That's why I thought everybody would know where it is, but apparently they don't. At least a yellow cab driver. Good, Jeff. That'd be great. And get the Friday night one. It's almost as soon as they announce it. Get the Friday night one because it fills up pretty quickly, and there are a lot of people like Brian who couldn't get there. They're a lot of fun. Hi, Mike. Has any watchmaker pledged to never use silicon? Slowly, more and more expect. Oh yeah, no. I think I've talked to some independents who have said, no way. Kari Vutenlanen said he'd never use this stuff. Uh, Roger Smith never would. Um, yeah, no, they have said they didn't want to. There was an interesting thing. Somebody posted on High Horology Lounge. It was there was this thing that what's his name? Maso, Tim Maso, where Tim and some other guys were sitting down, and it was sort of having an examination of their heads about silicon hairsprings, and they went on and on about it. And to me, for a guy like Maso, it's almost impossible to say, oh no, you shouldn't have silicon hairspring. Patek Philippe, one of their big customers, and they're probably, I would guess, that Govberg watches that I think it's all part of this 1916 or whatever they call it now. That see, you can in Swatch watch, and how are you going to say, well, I wouldn't do it? But it was sort of an interesting discussion. It's sort of I hope they were filled with guilt. That's my only hope that we have to do it. We have to support it. Um, you know, uh, I know that Agenor wouldn't. See, there's a company that most people don't know of and probably make hairsprings for just a whole slew of top watches is Alto Calpa. They're owned by the Sandoz Family Foundation, who own Vasseur and own Parmigiani Fleurier. So I thought there was something like, well, maybe they'll have that. See, the thing of it is that I guess there's a question of the whole notion of craftsmanship that comes in there somehow. And one of the things that Maso and this other guy said, talking about the advantages that I know that Patek Philippe doesn't want to hear. Oh yeah, they're cheaper to make. You bet they are. They come out of these wafers, and you punch them out and stick them in there, and Bob's your uncle. You got yourself a hairspring that won't do things that a normal one will do, including be allowed to adjust. So I don't want to go off on that, man. That's sort of like Usually Caesar likes to say something to get me going on that. This time it was four, but yeah, Brian, La Cadre Reniers de Genève. Yeah, that is FP Journe's dial maker, and they're going to be making our dials for the Arizulu. Hey, John, how you doing? Oh no, John D. I know Gotham Hall, isn't it? It's just they started trying to think if they had it there. I think early on, I think the very first one I went to, the very first Watch Time show, I don't think they had it in Gotham Hall. I think it was somewhere else. And then they changed it to Gotham Hall. I've had it there ever since. Yeah, John, I saw that too in terms of that discussion. Call me cynical, okay? But was that sort of like that was a type of justification more than it was like, okay, we got to have some way that sounds that sort of makes this fit in. Would they say the same thing about plastic parts? Hey, that's an improvement and lighter and this and that. I don't think so. And there's something that was in a way that was disingenuous about that. Like they were thinking about this. This is an original thought we have rather than a scripted thing that went off with her. But like I said, maybe I'm just a little cynical. I mean, if I were selling watches and I was selling, especially Patek Philippe, I wouldn't say anything bad about them. And I would criticize people like, well, this is just some kind of progress. No, it's not. Progress is done with smartwatches. It was done with quartz, and they're still more accurate than you can stick all the silicon hairsprings in a watch you want, and it's not going to be as accurate as a quartz watch, and they know it. And so it's sort of like, to me, it's almost I don't know. I I wonder, if sort of like I you know somewhat not to be too critical because I really like what Maso does in terms of his discussions, but I just yeah, yeah, I know that. Also, another thing, he went to Oberlin. I had a friend who went to Oberlin. Oberlin is one of those wonderful liberal arts colleges that pop up anywhere. Like um, in Oregon, they have one called Reed College, and they're wonderful. I mean, the people who go there are very very sharp people. Swarthmore, Haverford. Some of these really top nut schools, that like that. And so I have a lot of respect for him, for Tim being a smart guy, but I also have respect for him having his livelihood depends on people wanting what they're selling in all respects. Yeah, no, he's into bicycles and light tech stuff and things like that. That's good. I have I am not a bicyclist. My wife and I got two bicycles. We got these, and we don't ride them. Riding bicycles, man, I tell you, unless you have really good bike paths, is dangerous. Our road, we have an old farm road that they paved over and call a road, and then they put up a sign at the end of our street that says scenic view. So you're riding a bike and all of these people come driving by, and it just, I don't know. But I think bicycling is a wonderful thing. I used to, all through my graduate school and undergraduate, I used to ride a bicycle because we had bike paths. That this is back in the '60s, where they had fabulous bike paths all over the University of California at Santa Barbara. And this is a long, long time ago. They had bike paths. We didn't have to worry about getting hit by a car. Yeah, Von Cruel. I got, yeah, he's a bright guy and very, that's why I was sort of like, you know, there's, if you spend any time looking at trials, criminal trials, what you'll find is that the prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney are weaving these accounts, okay? They're weaving talk to some end that have possibly nothing to do with reality. Just saying, so to speak. I agree, Damon. He could sell rowboats to river rats. I mean, desert rats. But he's great. He really is. I have, like I said, I got a great deal of respect. But some other things I'm not saying are disrespectful. I'm saying they're practical. Well, hi, Eddie. How you doing? How's your tradition doing? We were talking about silicon hairsprings. If you'd like to throw in on that one. Oh man, yeah, Von Crew. We were in, where was it? We saw bicycles everywhere. Oh, in Amsterdam. We were in Amsterdam recently, and there's just bicycles everywhere. And one of the reasons that it's great is that it's flat. Riding bicycles and flat where we are, up and down and stuff, and you know, um, and there are woods around and some. I've known some people on our street who are bicyclists and they've gotten hit, and the poor guy, we're always on the lookout for bicycles when we're driving. I think a lot of the because they love our street. It's a scenic view. We don't want them here unless they live here. Then it's okay. Yeah, yeah. Where's Rancher? Where's Rancher where we need him? No, I didn't see that. I have most of the things. I I almost never watch Tim Maso. He's that good. If I watch Tim Maso talk about a watch, I want it. I don't care what kind of watch it is. He is excellent at that. So I haven't seen anything on Liga. Liga, it's really funny. How is Liga used here? 'Cause there was a group that I used to fly with called Liga, and we had medical clinics in Mexico. They would fly down doctors and nurses and stuff, and it was down in Sinaloa. It was not a. This was back in the '90s, early '90s, and the name of our group was Liga. I wonder what Liga. It's probably. I know it's not the same Liga. It was called League of the Flying Doctors. Oh yeah, listen. When I was in Copenhagen too, they're wonderful on bicycles. I love bicyclists. I just don't like them around cars because it's not good for either one of them. Yeah, that's true, Eddie. Yeah, you can ignore that one part of it and not worry about it having to magnetize. Going through, you don't have to go through sort of one of those things that everything out of metal suddenly attaches to your watch. To me, that was look like something that came out of Abraham Louis Breguet's workshop. I love that watch. That's probably maybe if it could be retrofitted. Hi, Lisa. How you doing? Yeah, learning about watch repair and servicing, I think, is a great thing to do. You learn a lot about watches. I like Eddie. I was looking. In fact, I put a bid on a 3130 Breguet, so I like those. But I don't like on a 10 hertz, obviously. But I generally what I want to get one is one that Daniel Roth was designed, and the 3130 is one of those. Oh, listen, listen, I have no doubt about the precision. The Well, I don't want to go on about that anymore because I like those parts. Oh no. Yeah, yeah, I had a backpack and a bicycle. I rode that for God 7 years, back and forth between where I lived and the campus. Just okay. Thanks, John. Yeah, when I heard the league, I thought, oh, wait a minute, my old flying group. Well, the Breguet logo. No, Breguet is they have some of the most beautiful watches of all, and of all of them, Eddie, my favorite is the Tradition. I really like that one, and I even like the rotor on the back that looks like it sort of looks like a swinging blade. Um, Reminds me of the Telltale Heart. Well, guys, listen. We've gone on about an hour. I probably, in order to avoid getting in trouble, I want to thank you all for coming. Yeah, some great things you brought up today, Eddie. I'm glad you got here. And uh, John and the rest of you guys, Brian, Lisa, even Foreman, and Von Cruel. You guys are wonderful. Anyway, I got to run and take care.